Good morning. I'm going to wait just a few seconds here, let people continue to be rolling in. Glad to see you all this morning, or see that your names are popping up. I'm not seeing you, obviously, but glad you're here to join us this morning. Hopefully this will be worthwhile. Just wait a few more seconds and we'll get started. Okay, well, welcome. This is our Minnesota Crossroads Career Network webinar this morning. Glad you're able to join us. We've got Rich Braden, who you've come to see about organizing your job search. I'm really glad to have him with us, and we've got a couple other things for you too. And so I'm glad that we're able to do these. Good news is starting Thursday morning, August 3rd, we're going to have an in-person meeting for Crossroads at Grace Church in Eden Prairie. And I hope you can, if you're still looking for a job at that point, it's only a couple of weeks away, but hopefully you can join us there, because as much as I'm grateful that we're able to do these online meetings, it's not as good as when we're meeting in person. Now, we will for a while still continue having webinars the second and third weeks of every month, but the first meeting of every month is going to be in person only at Grace Church. So I'll explain more of that when we at the end of the presentation this morning, and hopefully you can join us then, because it's going to be a great opportunity to actually meet other people and have side conversations and do some networking, and it's just a much better experience. We can be a lot more interactive and hear other voices just besides people on the webinars. As we do these, and our purpose with Crossroads and hope with Crossroads is really to, we want to provide the best help and resources for your job search as we can. But we also, at the same time, also want to point you to the encouragement and hope in Jesus Christ. And, there's a perspective in the Bible that I think is important to rely on when we're going through difficult times in life, like a job search. It's the idea that always having an attitude of gratitude, no matter what circumstances we may be going through. In the book of 1 Thessalonians, it says, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." It doesn't say give thanks for all circumstances. You don't have to be thankful for your job search, although I know many circumstances where that does make sense. But the idea is that no matter what circumstances you find yourself in, be deliberate in maintaining a thankful heart and a grateful attitude. It's easy for us to focus on things that aren't going the way we want in our lives and take for granted or forget about the things that are good. If we have a roof over our heads, or food in the refrigerator, a healthy body, family, friends, resources, some community we can turn to for support, we have so much more than a large percentage of the people in the world out there. Having an attitude of gratitude makes us less stressed, happier, more willing to help others, more likable, and more attractive to potential employers. I encourage you to take the time to sit down and literally list all the good things in your life. Then acknowledge that all good things come from God and thank Him for it. It makes a big difference when you put things in proper perspective. Let me open us in a word of prayer, and then we'll move on with the rest of our content this morning. Lord, we just thank you for these chances that we can come together, even if it's just virtually, but to be able to get some help in our circumstances. We are grateful that things are not as bad as they could be. And we just want to thank you, Father, for the things that are good in our lives, because you're the source of all things good, all truth, and anything that works for us. Father, we pray that you use this time this morning for your purposes, and that everyone can walk out with a sense of hope and encouragement and fresh ideas and boldness that they need for the weeks ahead. We'll pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, with that, I have a video to share this morning. It's Tommy Bowden. It was the football coach at Clemson before 𝙊𝙧𝙜𝙖, and he was a national champion. And he is sharing in this video his perspective of going through ups and downs in life and what's been important to him. And I hope it's encouraging and helpful for you. Let me find this here and get it going.
Clemson's unique in the fact that's the only place in college football where you come out of the dressing room.
Whoop, let me try this again. Sorry.
Clemson's unique in the fact that it's the only place in college football where you come out of the dressing room and instead of going immediately to the field, you go the opposite direction, get on a bus, drive around the stadium with a police escort, and run down a hill. And as you stand at the top of the hill, the team's behind you, and you've got 83, 85,000 people there in the stands. The thing that goes through the mind of a head coach is, I better win this game. Football is a collision sport. It's a contact sport. It's a very emotional sport. It's played with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of effort, and a lot of times the teams are so equal as far as talent. It's the team that plays with the most emotion that wins. You better be able to say something to motivate your players, and they better reach game time on Saturday highly motivated and more motivated than the other team. You know, I've got 85 more or less teenage sons. Over the course of 24 hours, you know something is probably going to happen between one of your 85 sons. We're in an environment, you know, where the standards are high. There's outside pressure to be successful, and there's also self-imposed pressure that you bring on yourself. And you better have a lot of wisdom in how you deal with this, because the mental frame of your players is so important. Every morning I would go in. I was an early riser. I'd go in about 5:45 or 6. I would spend time in reading God's Word, in meditating, listening for an answer, and praying to God about wisdom that I would need for that day. Say, God, something's going to happen. Give me wisdom as it occurs. Unfortunately, I think you might be presented more problems, especially if you're vocal about your faith, because not only do we live in a secular world where Christianity is frowned a lot, but Satan becomes more active and throws more roadblocks in your path the closer you get to God. They talk a lot about Christianity being meek, and a lot of people misunderstand it with weakness. I saw a definition of meekness one time being controlled power. That's more or less what you need as a coach. You got to be strong. You got to be controlled. You know, one thing about Christ was bold. I mean, you talk about a strong guy. He was strong. And the more you associate yourself and understand the lifestyle of Christ, all the things that made him successful, and his athletics, if I need commitment, accountability, discipline, and sacrifice and responsibility, and Christianity teaches that, you learn that from the Bible, you learn it from the lifestyle of Christ. Why not marry the two? In football, you know, you got wins and then you got losses. It's a series of peaks and valleys. You'll win, and then you'll lose. Coach of the year 3 times, and all of a sudden, idiot of the year, you know, real quick. You need something concrete. You need something stable. And I always felt like that came from that daily communication with God, with him giving you wisdom on how to make decisions, how to deal with administration, how to deal with media. Your hands in so many different fires and so many different pockets, with so many different players with personalities, with buttons to push. Gosh, you need a solid, concrete foundation that doesn't deviate. And that's where I think my faith has helped me the most. My name's 𝙊𝙧𝙜𝙖𝙤𝙬, and I am second.
Get my camera and stuff back on here. You know, as you said, as a coach, and sometimes in our careers and in our life, you know, you're winning. Coach of the year 3 times, as he said, and then all of a sudden you're idiot of the year. You know, that things go south, and that's the nature of life, right? I mean, there's never a straight line between where you are now and where you want to get to be. It's always a series of ups and downs, and how we manage those, how we view those, where we get our strength matters like crazy. And so I've watched this a few times, and it gets me thinking every time, and it's inspiring to help me realize I'm not the only one that has the ups and downs. With that, I'm really glad to be able to introduce Rich Braden. Rich has volunteered for Crossroads for many years now. I'm not sure. It's probably 8 or 9, maybe more than that. And I have so appreciated everything he's done, but he adds so much to it. He facilitates small group classes for us. He coaches, he does these presentations and other things, but he has lived it. I mean, he's gone through job transitions where he's had to learn a lot about how to do good job search. He's studied it. He's figured a lot of things out and has a lot to share. And in this presentation this morning, Rich, by the way, in terms of his career, he's led training and development for a number of Fortune 500 companies. Most recently was global leader of training and development for Honeywell, and currently works as managing director of technology apprenticeships for CompTIA, and has through his transitions applied the things that he teaches in our Crossroads classes. And so I'm really glad to have him present this morning, and I know you'll get a lot out of it. And I'll turn it over to you, Rich. Thanks.
Thanks, Harry. And yes, I have been through transitions. I been there, done that, as they say, right? Learn through experience. So let me share my screen here. Let me know when you can see my PowerPoint there, Harry. We good?
You're good.
Okay, cool. So I'd like to try and be interactive as much as we can here, and I'll have a couple of questions for folks to comment on in the chat line. Not sure I'll be able to see it, so I might have to get your support, Harry, in reading some of the comments. But so delighted to be here this morning. I have the pleasure and the blessing of calling in from Grand Haven, Michigan, which is a beach community on the western coast of the state of Michigan. We're out here enjoying kind of a workcation for a while in our RV and enjoying it. And there's just a lot of great activity out here. It's a cool 70 degrees, depending upon where you are in the States calling in. I know a lot of folks are suffering, so may God be with you as you're suffering with all of the heat in the United States right now. But we're enjoying some beautiful weather here on the coast of Lake Michigan. So organizing your job search, what a massive topic. The one thing I won't do in this presentation is insult your intelligence and suggest that you can't organize or that you don't have great organization skills. Most people who come into Crossroads have some kind of a business background and I'm sure are very expert at planning and organizing and project management. So what I've elected to do in this presentation is just kind of highlight some of the do's and don'ts, some key topics of interest that I think are things you need to be mindful of. In the training and development world, we call that being consciously competent, in being aware of what you're doing as you proceed into this new world of transition. And because this may be the first time, and maybe it's something you're considering. You haven't been in transition yet, but I guarantee you that the things I'll be talking about are things that I've observed, experienced over the 10 years of doing small groups and interacting with literally hundreds of people in transition. And I think that this food for thought will be very, very enlightening in many respects. So again, considerations and food for thought. I'm not here to teach you how to organize literally. I respect that you know how to do that, but when in the context of a job search, it's important that we think about some things differently. So the old Napoleon Hill saying, "Plan your work and work your plan," is so true. It's more than being cliche. I spent nearly 9 years at Honeywell. It was a phenomenal organization, or it is a phenomenal organization. At the time, the CEO was Dave Cote, who will, I think, go down as one of the best, if you will, CEOs in American industry. And Dave used to say that once your strategy is baked, it's all about execution. And really, that's what he drove throughout the organization, was a culture of execution. I learned a lot from that as an operations person there. And it's so true that once you get the plan in place, do it, make it happen, deliver it with discipline and effort, and you'll be fine, and you'll win at the end. And so I love this cliche. And it's very, very true that you plan your work and you work your plan, diligently. I think that's a little bit what Tom Bowden was saying too in the clip that Harry was talking about, is that, you come down that hill at Clemson and the football players, and boy, you better win. That's all about execution because their game plan's already done. So I think it's very, very true. So why is this important to talk about when you're in job transition? Because depending upon your circumstance and your situation, you're thrown into something potentially. Might have gotten a pink slip for whatever reason, had a layoff, don't know why, but hey, all of a sudden you've got this chaos in your life and it's disruptive and you've got to do something about it. And so a process for planning and achieving your goal, and which generally is, landing, getting another job, is really just a process, input, process, output. So without a disciplined approach or a way of thinking about this, you can kind of stay in that chaotic state. And we don't want that for you. We really want you to make sense of all the chaos by using a process. So that's the reason why planning is so critically important at this stage of your life. So what does the Bible say about organization? God has a lot to say about this. I just basically cherry picked a few Bible verses to give you some insight, but he really cares, and he really does direct this in our lives. Let's start with the first example here. Organization is a process. Again, this is to reinforce the slide I just showed you. In 1 Corinthians 14:40, but everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way. Okay, great, love it. Let's do that. That again speaks to the process of things. Organization requires documentation, and I'm gonna hope I don't mess this up, but the Habakkuk 2:2, and the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. Great, love it. Documentation, we're going to talk about that too, and how important that is to keep track of things. And lastly, organization takes effort. Proverbs 13:4. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. I just love that because it's so easy. I can't tell you how many people I've coached and talked to who just got got laid off, got a big fat severance check, and now they want to take the summer off and play golf and get their job search done later. Not probably the best idea to jumpstart your search. You really want to get things going right away. So let's get into the do's and don'ts, starting with some of the don'ts that I've observed over the years in working with people. First don't is underestimating the work required to land your next opportunity. You've probably heard this from many and experiencing yourself, that getting back to work is work. And that is so true. I've been in transition a couple of times, and when I have been, my wife has observed, Rich, you work harder doing this than you did when you were working. I don't know if that was true or not, but every day having appointments, making sure you've got the discipline to manage your funnel and your pipeline, that takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. And so don't underestimate that. Everyone's got a different situation. I like to say, if we all have lives, right? So if you've only got 4 hours to apply to your job search every week, make sure you're making the most of those 4 hours. Doesn't mean you have to work 40 hours during your job. Whatever you can allow and tolerate in your life, just make it work, okay? Taking a break and thinking this won't take long. It does take a long time. I don't know exactly what the ratios are, but basically, you really got to get at it. You got to create momentum. It's an uphill climb, at least at the start. And so don't underestimate, again, how much work it takes, and it could take you a long time. What is a long time? Really, I can't tell you what that is basically, but taking a break and thinking it won't take long is really probably not the right way to start your job search. Completing job applications as your only search activity. If you're involved in Crossroads, interacting with the coaches in the small groups, you will quickly learn that there's a whole host of strategies that you have to apply to get back to work. And the last thing you want to be doing is only sitting in your basement and pounding out job applications as your only search activity. And it may sound kind of strange. You'd say, well, gosh, I would never do that. Well, I hope that's the case, because a lot of people do that. And then I have talked to so many folks who they'll come into my group and they'll say, gosh, I filled out 100 applications. I filled out 200 applications. No kidding. And I'm not getting any response. And that's because they're not doing it around an organized strategy. So don't let that be your only tactic. Don't go it alone and isolate yourself. Another reason that you want to be involved in small groups at Crossroads, be in circulation with people. Very, very important. And hopefully people that support you and love you and can honor the stage of life that you're in and not criticize it. Really important. So what I tell people is, when they're in my small group and they leave that group after 7 or 8 weeks or whatever it might be at the time, get into another one. Stay in small groups, because that fellowship is critical to your success. It gives you the feeling of accomplishment and hope, and you got to be around other people. So don't just isolate yourself. Okay. And don't bask in the glory of ignorance, suggesting that this is going to be this is no big deal. I'll get back to work, fill a couple applications, and just think it's all going to happen naturally. Well, I hope it does, but hope isn't a strategy necessarily in these situations. You really want to, again, put a good plan together and make things happen. Then lastly, staying stuck in the past. Let go of unresolved issues. That's really, really hard. I know that everyone's situation is different, but the quicker that you can get past it, and again, maybe that requires, finding a counselor or therapist or something, anything you can do to move forward and leave the regrets behind is really, really, I think, very important to your sustainability through the job transition. So let's open it up for a chat. What other things would you consider don'ts as you look at the horizon here and get into this transition? I'll open up my chat here and see if I can find anything. Anybody, come on, throw a couple of chats. Let's hear from some folks here. What other things would be considered don'ts? Got to get at least one. I'm assuming the chat's working there, Harry.
I believe it is.
Okay, there you go. Don't get down on yourself. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate that. Absolutely. Don't stop believing. That was the song Journey did that, right? Good, love it, Don. Thank you. Thank you for that. One more. Let's see if we can squeeze one more. Anybody? Don't let wonderful ideas overwhelm you. Don't stop being the miracle. Love that. Thanks, Elaine. That's great. Give as much as you get. That's great. Super, super. Thanks. Okay, appreciate that. Appreciate participation there. That's fantastic. Good. Let me go on to the next slide, if I may. Okay. All right. So here's a little different question. What does exemplar organization look like? You've all been organizers. Again, no project management and things from your business life, I'm sure. When you see well executed organization, what does it look like? It doesn't have to be in the context of job search necessarily. What are the things that you're going to leverage? What are the tools? What are the tactics and the behaviors? Anybody? Let's get the chat. Let's hear from at least 3 people if we can. What are some of the exemplar behaviors? Objective. Put an objective out. Good. Great. Grounded in objectives. Love it. Thanks, Carrie. A couple more, if you don't mind. Deadlines for yourself. Love it. The old SMART. Time bound. Set weekly goals, Jeff. Thanks. How about one more? Non-toxic. Good. Follow through with thoughtful follow-up with the HR managers. Super. Yeah, keep it in touch. Leverage a network. Let them know that you're interested. Mentors and advisors. Fantastic. hopefully we can help with that too. That's great. Need advisors in your network, no question about it. Communicate to others and ask for their help with your search. Leverage your friends and family. Fantastic, Carolyn. Thank you. Absolutely. You don't want to be, hanging around with your grumpy uncle who's saying, "Why aren't you back to work yet? Come on, what's the matter with you? Just fill out some job applications." You want to be people with supportive, who honor where you're at. One more, anybody? One more, please. Okay, well, those are great suggestions, everyone. Thanks. So I'll move forward then. So basically, again, some food for thought, some things that that you want to be. Here we go. Communicate those. Use the resources of grace. Yep. Thanks, Carolyn. Thanks for that reminder. And we don't know what your situation is, spiritually or otherwise. Certainly, whatever church you might be going to, there's a lot of job transition programs out there. Just be plugged in, period. That fellowship is so critically important. And that's really a differentiator, I think, when you're in a faith-based organization, versus a secular organization. You're going to be around people who love you and care about you. And that's what we try to do and be available to you. So please, I encourage you to plug into Crossroads or other faith-based organizations as well to help you through this. Okay, so let's change the topic here a little bit. Kind of talk about strategy. I just got done talking about execution, how important execution is, but I also want you to think, a big picture. So when you walk into this new world, this new situation, we want you to give yourself a holistic view of really what's happening and how you as a product really should be interacting with the marketplace, because someone out there is going to buy your talent, literally. That's why they call it a fit, right? And so I use this kind of a SWOT dialogue to kind of expose the opportunity to really think about big picture planning and what you want to include in your plan. So let me go through this real quick. And everybody's familiar with SWOT. I'm sure it's probably one of the number one tools that people use or companies use as a means of starting the development of strategy. And what it stands for is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so, but generally how it works is the strengths and weaknesses are the perspective of the firm or the company, and the opportunities and threats are the perspective of the marketplace. And what you do is you pitch your strengths of the company against the opportunities, shore up the weaknesses, and kind of just let the threats go, because they're probably things that you can't do anything about it anyways. So how do we put this in context of a job search? When you're out there doing your networking, and thinking about opportunities, you're really interacting with people and really understanding what's out there, what's new. If you've been in a company for the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, maybe 25 years, that's not uncommon, you're very insular when it comes to your career plan, because you've been comfortable and you haven't had to look outside. You haven't had to update. A lot of you maybe not even have a development plan, which I really encourage you to have a development plan, especially now. And so when you're out there networking, you're really learning and hoping that your skill set isn't obsolete. And the only way you're going to do that is to really go out there and validate your strengths against what's going on in the marketplace. So when you're matching your strengths to your opportunities, that's based on good information and data. So go out there and do research by talking to people and reading things. You don't want to have a 2.0 career operating in a 4.0 world. Okay. And then basically, you want to shore up those weaknesses through an aggressive learning plan. I'm very, very big on this. And so basically, if you have a learning plan, if you have a development plan, if you're taking classes or whatever, that's going to impress people that you interview with, because they're going to ask you, what have you been doing since you've been out of work? And if you say something like, well, I'm taking a Udemy class, I'm taking a local community college class or something because I needed to upgrade my Excel skills or what have you, they're gonna be very intrigued and very interested in that you're really doing something to make sure that you're current. Because believe me, if you've been in a company for a long time, your currency probably has lagged a bit, and you need to understand, really what you need to be doing. So put that as part of your plan, okay? Match your strengths to opportunities, but the only way you're going to find about those opportunities is to go out and talk to people and do research. So document and validate those opportunities, and then shore up your weaknesses through an aggressive learning plan. Make that part of your big, broader picture strategy. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Put this back in chat here. How many of you really have like a learning plan, if you will, or have thought about this in terms of your skills, your fit with the new marketplace? If you've been, kind of insular and haven't really had to go out and look for a job in a long time. Let's get some chat in here. Anybody have a perspective on this? Anyone? I have one. Matthias, thank you. Great, fantastic. Anybody else? And if you don't, that's cool. That's fine. That's why you're here. Let's engage and see if you can think about it. Anybody else? I am changing careers and have taken numerous courses in technology. Super. I've thought about it, but haven't acted on it. Great. Hopefully you do, Jay. That's great. Anybody else? Yes, Don. Thank you. Good. Fantastic. I started taking 2 classes, cybersecurity and AI. Fantastic. I've been taking HR courses on Coursera. Fantastic. Coursera is fabulous. For $49, you can get all the classes you can eat. It's fantastic. Thanks, Chris. Anybody else? I've been doing a lot of training in LinkedIn. Fantastic. That's great. Great. Good. Good to hear. This is really important, folks. Really important to keep your mind fresh. I'm in a conversation with a local college on a course to update my project management skills. Great, Cheryl. That's fantastic. That's great. Good. Yeah. This is really, really important. Again, you don't have to, go out and get an MBA or a graduate degree or something. Just be aware. Be aware that you're going to have to upgrade your skills. Just matter of fact, it's going to happen, and do something about it. Doesn't have to be fancy, but make this part of your plan and something that you work in your daily work plan. That study and whether it be certifications or whatever it might be. I'm in the educational technology field now at CompTIA, so and specifically an apprenticeship field for CompTIA. We are a certification company. We're a nonprofit certification company, and we are there to help people with their IT career pathways through learning, through certifications, and it really works. And it's very, very important that people take a look at this. Okay, good. All right, let's move on. Okay, so where do I start? One of the things that I teach in my small group is really how to develop a strategy and to really develop an objective, at least a default objective. You got to have a place to start. And we talk a lot about, what is your target position? What's your target position, and what are some of the target companies or industries that you're going to be going after? So you have a place to start. Somebody in the chat line said, that it's important to have an objective as part of your planning, and that's absolutely true. So having a target position is really important. Why? Because a lot of folks don't have a linear career path like IT or accounting or nursing or pharmacy or something where they just know they're naturally going to go to the next opportunity in their career path. Some people want to change career paths, but you also have to respect the fact that it needs to be aligned with your past. You can't just jump from one career path or vocation to a totally different one that you haven't had any experience in. That could take a very, very long time to materialize. So I always tell people, if you want to be a rocket scientist or a neurosurgeon, get back to work first, then put your plan together to be a rocket scientist or neurosurgeon. If it's nothing you've ever done in the past, get back to work and then figure about those dramatic changes that you might want to make. But really get your target position and make sure it's aligned with something that you've done in your past, either industry, vocation, location, function, what have you. This is a whole huge topic, but it's also just a reminder to be kind of realistic and aligned so that you're going to get the proper fit in the next opportunity. Okay. So this is not SMART goals are not a new, it's kind of management science 101, but it's still important to keep in mind, to write objectives that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Somebody had said that in the chat. And I think it's really important that we have some discipline in writing our goals, making sure that, we really are doing things that are achievable, especially, and being specific. I think you can't be more specific. You can't be specific enough, I think, in writing your objectives. Any comments out there about writing goals and maybe using SMART literally or parts of it? What really works for you? Anybody? Let's put some chats up there, please. Anybody? Your experience with the SMART system or something similar? Couple comments, please. Is it just academic? Is it useful? Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on. Let's move on. No problem. Okay. So let's see here. Advance the slide. There we go. Okay. So let's just talk about the construct of a basic organization construct of what's kind of a minimum standard. Okay, what's a minimum standard for organizing and moving forward? I would say the first is in the process is making sure that you've got your goals. What are you trying to achieve by when? If you have an aggressive plan, I want to be back to work in 3 months, great, or 4 months, or whatever it might be. That's fantastic. Just make sure that your effort is commensurate with that timeline. It's really important. The process, minimum standard. What's your daily and weekly pipeline plan? I'll show you what a pipeline looks like in a minute. What level of activity is required to achieve your goals? Very, very important. As I said in the first couple of slides, life goes on. You're busy, you're raising a family, doing whatever. If you've only got 4 or 5 hours a week to put towards your job search, fantastic. Be proud of that 4 hours and make it work for you. Okay, just make sure it's good activity that's strategic and it's going to help you achieve your plan. You don't have to spend 40 hours a week if you don't have it. Okay. Progress. What metrics are you measuring? What tools are you using to track progress? That's really, really important. So that time just doesn't evaporate. Really to make sure you've got that progress plan. Okay. So let's look at what kind of a basic pipeline strategy looks like. And the reason a pipeline strategy is important as a process is because I want people to avoid looking at the job opportunity as like sucking a drink through a straw, where you're looking at one opportunity at a time. And I can't tell you how important it is not to do that. Because what happens is someone gets really encouraged. Gee, I had a great networking meeting. I applied for a job. The person was really encouraged about my background, and I had a couple of interviews, and they just kind of stay in that one linear pathway, kind of like sucking a Coca-Cola through a straw, and all of a sudden you get to the bottom of the cup and the opportunity goes away. And now they're back to zero again. You want to avoid that. You want to put lots of opportunities into your pipeline so that in your funnel to make sure that you're sorting through this activity, and hopefully through all those activities, you're getting to the bottom with the number of opportunities that'll come to fruition. So the way this works is, and this is kind of the process that I teach, suspects is really part of who you might want to work for. And you got to do a lot of discovery research to figure out who those companies are. These might be different industries or segments or companies, but you're not necessarily applying for jobs there. You're just assuming that they might be a good fit. So you're just doing some research, figuring it out. Prospects, I call prospects companies where you've made an initial contact. You've gone on LinkedIn. You think it's a great company to work for. Let's just use the term Medtronic, because if you're from Minneapolis, everybody knows Medtronic. And well, have I met anybody there? Do I have any contacts there? Well, maybe you don't. Then you go out to LinkedIn and try and form and shape some relationships there. And now you've got someone to talk to. And then I would say that that's gone to the next stage. A qualified prospect is really where you have an opportunity. There's a job opening. So let's say you wanted to get into the medical device industry, and Medtronic is on your list. You got to know some people there. Fantastic. Now they've got some opportunities that are fitting to your job objective, and now you apply for a job. Okay, now it's a qualified prospect, and then hopefully you get some interviews. You're on the presentation, game on, okay, and offers, negotiation, hire, and so forth. Then you onboard and pass it forward. So that's kind of the whole idea, is that put lots and lots and lots of companies of interest, industries of interest in the top of the funnel, and start making relationships so you can really figure out, you know, if they're really a good fit by talking to people. Wait for those opportunities to have job openings. You apply, and now you kind of know what you're doing. So let's talk about this real quick in the chat. Anyone care to share any experiences with using a funnel or a pipeline process? Anyone? Simple yes. Yeah. Do you have a good layout for managing my pipelines and funnels? This is where your control documents come in, Elaine, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Good question. Even a simple yes, no. I've thought about this as a pipeline process or not. Anybody, just yes, no's. Concern spending too much time on suspects. Okay, good, Don. A lot of research. Great. Jeff, yes, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, as I look at this, it is what I'm actually doing. Fantastic. Yes, to a smaller degree. It is used extensively in my sales and marketing. There you go. Thanks, Diane. I've yet to apply it to my current search. Yeah, cool. Good. Fantastic. Yes, need to throw out a lot of seeds. Some will hit fertile ground, others won't. Absolutely. Thanks, Jay. That's great. How do you move on from suspects? Great. Let me address that. Thanks, Don. Good. Okay, let me go into this. So the whole idea here, and I won't belabor this, I assure you, but so the idea here is that I think the tendency would be, if you've had a really great experience in the company you're coming from, and you've left for whatever circumstance or reason, the natural affinity is to say, gosh, I just want to go back to what I've been doing before with the same company, same salary and everything. And that's probably impossible in many instances. Doesn't mean you can't go back to the company you work for, because many of us work for multinational companies that are big. But the idea of getting back to your previous experience is probably very challenging. So you have to go out and start doing research. You got to research new companies for sure. So you're not going to go back to your same company in many instances. You might want to look at different industries. You might want to look at different segments of the marketplace, right? Maybe you've been in financial services your whole career and you want to get into healthcare. That's a segment issue. All that requires research. All that requires research. And what I don't want you to do is conduct your research by going to Indeed and looking at job openings, because that certainly comes into the process at some point in time. But if you really haven't fully evaluated the marketplace based on your interests, then you're really falling short. You're not going to be able to find those things that really could be of interest to you. That could be new discoveries. So that's the whole point about is looking at suspects. And what I tell people to do is constantly be researching, some number of companies, 10, 15, 20, always be looking at the industries, companies, to really uncover what that fit might be. And then as you get more interested, and it feels good, now go out to LinkedIn or someplace or a networking event, find people who work there and then connect with them. And that's, whoever asked that question, that's how you move from suspects to prospects. When you go out and literally go out and find somebody and have a conversation. And that's a whole other skill, but it needs to be done to move them through. Don't just jump down to, I'm going to apply for a job. Try to get to know somebody so that you have a real prospect there to go after. So that's my answer to that question. Okay. All right, let's move on. A couple more slides here, guys. Okay, so couple of questions came up, or comments, I guess, came up around tracking. There was a comment made about Excel and so forth. So Organization tools, keep them simple, but have them. Oh boy, this is critical. You can call them control documents, tools, what have you. These are kind of some minimum standards. What I hope doesn't happen is, it takes a long time to get back to work. Let's say it's 3, 6, 9 months, 12 months, I don't know. And you've got all of this information that you haven't been disciplined about in terms of managing, and that you really have to have a disciplined approach. But it can be very simple. Absolutely, positively, Excel is probably one of the most flexible tools you could ever use to track and document pipeline activity. Literally, you can put columns in place that say suspects, prospects, qualified prospects, and so forth. I've talked to people who have unveiled Excel spreadsheets as long as my arms of tracking diligently in a disciplined way all the activity, and it's so important to do that. And Excel is a great, useful tool for that. There could be others, but certainly Excel is a good place to start. Outlook, definitely schedule and track appointments. I use Calendly religiously for making appointments. It's at the bottom of my signature. It works wonderful, whether it be Doodle or Calendly or something where you can say to somebody, do you have 20 minutes next week? If you wouldn't mind, take a look at my Calendly app and just schedule appointments. Really, really important. And I think a lot of people that you network with in businesses have those apps as well. So from a scheduling perspective and tracking appointments, use Outlook, use a tool like that. And they're free, by the way, in many instances. But find something that you can use to schedule appointments. Using a diary so you can catalog and document your research and meetings. I'm a big fan of OneNote, Microsoft system. It doesn't matter what you use, but you want to be able to use something that's non-paper based. Sorry, I got a lawnmower going by me here. Okay, that's a little loud. So basically, do something that's non-paper based. Use something that you can then search and do keyword searches. That's the thing to find information. And then lastly, you still need a hard copy filing system. Really important that you use a hard copy filing system because you're going to have to catalog paper artifacts. Okay. So with that said, let's go back to the chat and see if anybody has any ideas. Okay. About tools that they've used.
Rich, I'm going to put into the chat here 2 sites that are really great resources as well. One is called
GoJob Hero, GoJob Hero, Jibber. Okay. Harry, were you still talking? I think I lost your audio.
Yeah, sorry about that. I cut it off accidentally.
Okay.
These are both essentially CRM systems specifically designed for a job search, and that you can keep track of all your contacts, set up alerts for yourself, keep track of what you've applied for, notes of everything you have going on, and reminders. And so they're great resources. GoJobHero.com is completely free. Jibber has a small fee. You can check them out online and see if that works for you as well.
Thanks. Any other ideas, guys? Any other ideas? Okay, well, the idea here is that you want to use tools that are robust, that can expand with your needs. And so that, that can increase in capacity as you need them. And but keep it simple too. You don't have to go out and buy fancy software packages and stuff like that and spend a lot of money. You can just use what's normally available to you. Okay, last slide. Okay, plan, do, check, act. PDCA, really important. I encourage people to at least every 30 days really evaluate your plan. And continuous monitoring is important. It's not just about applying for jobs. It's a process, as you can see. And again, this is a short presentation. We can talk about any of these topics that I've brought up ad nauseum. But the idea is that have a system where you're constantly checking in, and not just tracking job applications. That's important. But also your networking, the companies you're researching, and so on and so forth, and make sure that you are checking in and evaluating. And that's it. That's it. I'll turn it back to you, Harry. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rich.
Anybody come off mute and share a note or two? Share your wisdom, experiences, good, bad, or indifferent.
What other ideas do you guys have that have been useful for you that would be worthwhile for others to know about too? And Don mentioned the Minnesota Workforce Centers. They're excellent. They have, I should say, there are some offices that do a better job than others, but for the most part, they have great resources, both online and in person. And I think a lot of times people don't take advantage of everything that's available to them there through the state. So check it out and go visit your representative at the Career Force Centers if you're in the Minnesota area.
And they have money too for classes.
Yeah.
Which is good. And they want to spend it.
Chris says the one thing I'd like to share is that I've had some success with reaching out to recruiters, hiring managers after submitting an application. This has been getting me a first call for a job. Absolutely. Great point. Can't find groups in New Jersey for support. Do you have an online option? Well, you're here, certainly with Crossroads locally here. Crossroadscareer.org is the national organization. There's a lot of resources on their website as well. And my guess is there is certainly groups in New Jersey too. They're sometimes hard to find. And so you can just try Googling job support near me and see what comes up, but there typically are groups around. It's just they're not necessarily very easy to find or visible.
Yeah, I just put my contact information too if anybody wants to reach out for any reason.
Thank you. Move around. A lot of thank yous, and I agree, Rich. Thank you. I appreciate your expertise, your help. I know, after you've been in a job search for a short time, it's easy to get overwhelmed with all the data you're taking in, contacts, jobs, conversations you've had, reminders, and some people overwhelm themselves with Post-it notes all over their office, or, others are more organized in an Excel spreadsheet or a number of other things, but there's a lot of ways to organize things, and whatever works best for you.
Harry, I might add, someone just made mention of libraries. I really encourage people to make your librarian your best friend. They love to help people in transition. They're extremely resourceful, and there's going to be like a research area of some sorts, someone who has the expertise to do database analysis and stuff. Honestly, walk into your library, find the librarian to help you with all of this discovery research. Oh, they're fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
Good place to hang out too, by the way. Great place.
Agreed. Question about, are you going to get a copy of the chat and PowerPoint? The video of this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel later today yet, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The chat, unfortunately, will not be available because we do, people put in personal information sometimes, and we just don't want that out publicly. But so no, unfortunately, the chat won't be available, but the video will be. Okay, with that, I want to give you guys an overview of everything else that's available through Crossroads, and I hope you can take advantage of the additional resources we have. Rich, thanks so much for your time and willingness to help, and I'm glad people got worthwhile information out of that. Let me share my screen here with, here we go. If this is your first time on one of our webinars, you will be receiving a copy of this devotional in the mail, How Long, O Lord, How Long, by Dale Kreinkamp. It's specifically geared towards people in job transition, and just a great resource to point you to Christ and spiritual support during this time, and to think of, to see things in the way God sees them. And there's an index in the back of the book that you can look up, you know, what am I feeling right now, or what challenges am I having? And it'll point you to specific devotionals geared towards that. It's a tremendous resource. It's a free gift from us at Crossroads that will, as I say, be mailing that out to you automatically. You registered with your mailing address, and we'll look forward to getting that out. I hope it's worthwhile for you. Everything Minnesota Crossroads is on our website at mncrossroads.com. And I think you probably had to go there to register for this webinar in the first place, but I encourage you to take some time and look around the site, and you'll find a ton of great information there. There's detailed information about our events coming up, there's additional resources. We have all the different things we have available to you in terms of coaching and classes and our networking group and other things. And I'll describe those to you here in a moment. But we also have a job board on there. There's a number of companies in the area here that know what we do, know that great people participate, and they're looking for you. So check out the job board. It's obviously not as populated as Indeed.com, but it's a great place to find additional resources, and you can let them know that you found it through the Crossroads website, and they're particularly interested in hearing from you. So check out the website and take advantage of all the resources available for you there. When we meet in person, there are 3 locations in the Twin Cities area: Grace Church in Eden Prairie on the first Thursday of the month, Woodbury Lutheran Church on the second Thursday of the month, and North Heights Church on the third Thursday of the month. And since the pandemic started, we've just been doing webinars for all of those. We have tried, frankly, a couple of times to get back in person, but haven't had a great deal of people coming out. And so we went back to just doing online. Well, starting August 3rd, for the first Thursday of the month, we are going to get back in person at Grace Church in Eden Prairie, and it will be in person only. We're not going to do a webinar that first Thursday of the month from now on. And so if you're in the Twin Cities area, I encourage you to come out. We've got Melanie Martz going to be doing a presentation on interviewing for success. Melanie, if you haven't seen her before, is a bundle of energy. You won't get bored, I guarantee it. But boy, it's so much better in person when you can see people face to face and have side conversations and do some networking and be able to interact better with the topics we're talking about. And so I am so looking forward to actually seeing some smiling faces instead of just blindly online this way. So encourage you to come out if you're in the Twin Cities. Now, you know, our last webinar last week, we had, it was really interesting. We had people from 8 different states around the country. We had someone watching from India. We had somebody watching from Canada. And even for people that were in Minnesota, we had a lot of people from outside of the Twin Cities area. So I get it. You know, obviously, if you're watching from New Jersey, as I know somebody here is, you're not going to be able to attend our in-person meeting. And I'm sorry that won't work out for you. But for those of you that are in the Twin Cities, boy, I hope you come out next, or not next week, but the following week on August 3rd for our in-person meeting. I guarantee it'll be worthwhile. We'll have free coffee for you to keep you awake, but it's going to be, first of all, I think just a great celebration to finally be able to see each other again. So hope to see you there. And then the second and third Thursdays, we will for now continue having webinars online, and all the information is on the website. I'll point that out to you. Actually, if you just go to the website and look for seminars, you'll be able to find all the details of all the in-person and webinar online webinars coming up as well. So check that out. On a weekly basis, there's multiple ways you can take advantage of Crossroads. And one thing is at 9 o'clock every Thursday morning. So they will be online following this presentation, our Networking with Grace group. It's online networking. So it's through a Zoom meeting as well. And you do need to register online in advance. So you can go and do that. And then you'll get a link to join the meeting. But it's a great way to share contacts, get leads, get contacts at companies you're targeting, get ideas from other people, and a lot of just great moral support. We've got Wes Tang and Wes Roper that lead that group, and we like to call them Wes 1 and Wes 2, like Dr. Seuss, Thing 1 and Thing 2. But they do a great job of helping everybody feel encouraged and get something to walk out with each week. So check that out and take advantage of that every week if you'd like. We have one-on-one coaching available, so you can sign up online and one of our volunteers will follow back up with you to schedule a time for a phone call or a Zoom meeting and talk about anything you want regarding your job search, whether you want some new fresh networking ideas, or you've got an interview coming up that you want to prepare for. Maybe you want to do some mock interview practice, or you want to talk about your resume, or anything at all that in regard to your job search. You can get a chance to talk about your specific situation with one of our volunteers that can offer some expertise. So you can take advantage of that anytime and as often as you like. Sign up on our website for that as well. We have, I'm just really grateful, we have volunteers that love to pray for you, and they are praying for participants in general. But if you have a specific prayer request that you're going through in your job search and would like to know that somebody is taking it to the Lord on your behalf, fill out our prayer support page and with the details, and somebody will follow up to let you know that they've been praying for you. But if you feel like you're really kind of struggling through this, I mean, we all know this process is an emotional roller coaster, and there's ups and downs, and sometimes it can really be quite a challenge. And so we have a group of soul care counselors that are there to kind of talk through things with you. They're willing to meet with you on a regular basis if you like, or whatever works out best. But you can sign up for that on a prayer request page too. You'll see the details, and we'll have somebody follow up with you in order to figure out what makes the most sense for you. But take advantage of these resources. That's just a great way to make sure that you stay plugged in and as positive as possible through the entire process. The bread and butter of what we offer is really through our online classes. This is where you can get the most in-depth and ongoing help in your job search. It's an 8-week online class that covers everything having to do with a successful job search. And we start with attitude, talking about getting in the right frame of mind and how you think about what's happened to you and where you're at and what you're going for. And it makes such a huge difference in terms of how you present yourself to others. I mean, I find so many times that people sabotage their own job search because they're kind of carrying around a lot of baggage that is not appealing to a potential networking contact or employer. And so we talk through those things. We do some assessments so that you can understand yourself better, increase your self-awareness to be able to articulate better what makes you unique and what you bring to the table that others don't. We talk a lot about networking, as Rich referred to, and we talk about often, is that your most likely way of landing a new job is through networking of some sort. And so we'll talk about that a lot, how to target companies. We'll talk about best practices with resumes and how to improve yours. We'll talk about interviewing skills and situations you're going to come up with, and negotiating an offer and selecting the right job. And there's so much more. And as much as the content is strong, I really believe as important is just that light accountability, encouragement, and moral support you get from the group. They're generally small group classes of anywhere from 4 or 5 to maybe 10 to 12 or more. But everybody's in the same boat, and we have experiences we can share with each other and support each other and get some new encouragement and hope so that you can hit the next week with a new spring in your step, because managing this roller coaster is a big deal. Throughout the 8 weeks, we explore what's God's perspective on your job search and your life, and what does that mean to you, or does it, and why should it? And we're going to discuss that as well. So we have new classes starting each month. We have one coming up in August here. I believe it's August 15th. You can find the details on the website and register there. There'll be more details about what the classes entail, and you can send an email to the class leader to sign up for our August class if that's of interest to you. I think it's by far the most helpful thing that we do through Crossroads, and encourage you to take advantage of it. If you haven't seen it yet or join our LinkedIn group. If you put MN Crossroads Career Network in the search box in LinkedIn, you'll find us. and you can get a bunch of information there. There's notifications of our new events coming up. There's recruiters that post jobs in there. There's job search ideas that go up in there. Most importantly, though, we're, I think, over 2,300 people in the group. They're all people that have participated in Crossroads at one point or another. And they've decided to stay in the group just to be available to others that are job seeking in order to be a contact at whatever company they're at. So you can look through the members and that are in the group, search for people that might be at a company that you're looking to pursue, and they can be a networking contact for you, somebody that can give you some advice, some insight into the organization, and perhaps be of help in other ways. And when you land in a new job, just stay in the group and allow others to reach out to you so you can give back and be available for others as they're looking for a job as well. It's a great way to give back and participate even while you're looking for a job. So check out our LinkedIn group, participate in it there, and I hope that's going to be worthwhile. This webinar and all of our webinars get posted on our YouTube channel. So again, in YouTube, if you put MN Crossroads Career Network, you'll find us, and you can review this one as well as check out any of the previous webinars we've had in the last 3 years. And there's a ton of great topics in there, terrific speakers, and hopefully it gives you more insight into the things that you're trying to accomplish or struggling with. And so check out what's there, and feel free to take advantage of that. As an additional resource, 𝙊𝙧𝙜𝙖 has just been a tremendous partner for us. They've provided us help financially to do the things we do. They've provided people and help in all kinds of different things. One of the things they do are 3 monthly webinars on financial considerations during a job search. And these are not sales presentations for 𝙊𝙧𝙜𝙖. They're really just to help you in the process. So they talk about what's the market doing. They're talking about what to do with maybe 401k plans you have. They talk about how to budget and how to think of your finances during your job transition. And it's tremendously helpful. You can sign up for those there. You'll see the details on the page for that. So check that out. I just want to acknowledge that there's nothing that we do that can happen because of 1 or 2 people. We've got actually over 42 people that volunteer with Crossroads in one way or another. And I'm grateful for every one of them because it enables us to do all the things we do. Everybody brings their own expertise and passion for helping others, and a lot of people put in a lot of time and effort just out of having a desire to help you get through this process. So just thankful for them. I want to acknowledge the people that do help, and I'm grateful that we're able to do it. If you don't have a church home and you're in the Twin Cities area, I encourage you to check out the churches that support Crossroads. And so Woodbury Lutheran, North Heights Church, and Grace Church. You can check out the websites. They have services streaming online, and certainly are meeting in person. And I think having a community of people that are there for you, providing spiritual and moral support, is just so critically important, and an opportunity to really get some teaching and gain some spiritual support through going to church and building relationships is critical. So encourage you to do all that. I hope this was worthwhile for you this morning. We're done a little bit early, but you can certainly check out the website, sign up, and get plugged into the networking group yet this morning at 9 o'clock. And hope to see you again. More so, I hope that you land a job here really quickly and don't need to come see us again, but pass on the word of what we're doing. Particularly come out to our in-person meeting if you can on August 3rd, and you'll see the details on the website. Thanks for joining us this morning. Have a great week.